I thought you were
Titan.
saying massive balls. I was like, okay. This guy just massive balls.
This
like,
guy's just got massive balls.
what kind of character design is this?
That's the true reason why it's rated M. Titan, just these massive balls hanging down it.
Listen to my story.
It all begins here.
I know.
This is a one-time gig.
All right, welcome to episode 2 of Super Frank, a Super Frank podcast. I am your host, SuperSanctus, along with me, the co-host,
Franky.
There you go. And today we have an awesome episode for you. We are going to talk about Final Fantasy XVI.
Yes.
At the time of recording this, it's roughly a month before it comes out.
Just about right.
So we are very excited for it. Thought we would go into a preview of sorts of it and talk about some of the game aspects, some of the things we're looking forward to, excited about, some things we're maybe already told that aren't going to be in it, a little disappointed of. An overall kind of review before we've even played it.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Some guesses on things. So why don't we get started right away with the biggest part for me.
Yes.
Clive.
Yes,
Clive.
Main character.
I'm super excited about Clive.
Absolutely.
He looks awesome.
Looks badass.
Yeah.
Looks super cool.
Yeah, I love how he's going to have like 3 parts, it seems like, to his story.
Yes.
Where he's going to be, you got the younger with the intro, which I don't know how long. It feels like that's just tutorial maybe land.
Right.
But I wonder if we get like flashbacks back and forth.
Ooh.
Like in 7, you get Cloud flashing flashbacks or like everybody talking about. I wonder if it's going to be something of that.
Or even like in 7 when you do the flashback, like you go back and to Nibelheim and
yeah,
play that
yeah.
for a little bit. Like that might be a section actually where you
that
play
might actually
him
have
younger
been what
than?
Yeah, you start off as the like 20s-ish, and then you go to when he's like 16, I think they said, or so. And then it's way later on, I think they said you play him in his like 30s or late 30s or something. It's the scruff look.
Yes, I did read something, and I think it said that he is the oldest main character.
Oh, really? Does that include? Oh yeah, because Noctis was only like 10 years.
I think that was
he was like 28, but he looks
that was
like
the
he's supposed
asterisk
to be
by
40.
it, is he technically goes in and for like 15 years and he comes out like older, but I think
as Clive is still older.
yes. So that's a little interesting. So going a little bit older of a main character, more mature story, rated M, as we were talking about earlier. We're like, okay.
So I like doing our lists of things and our rankings and everything. So going into recording that, without even playing the game and just seeing some of the footage and hearing him talking and all that, I already think he can break my top 5 favorite main character.
Oh yeah. Even
like,
just
pretty sure he could break that top 5. He seems awesome.
Just from
and like depending on the story, I'm like he might even break top 3.
Yeah,
it's gonna be hard to break the top 2. I mean,
right.
My buddy Cloud and Squall, that's gonna be hard to top those 2 for me. But he might be right up there, like with Tidus level. Depending on how his character really develops.
I was just gonna say, depending on his character arc and his development, it's because again, it seems he's young, youthful, happy-go-lucky, and then it's like what we know from the story is it's a revenge story. So it's like, is he going to turn from like happy-go-lucky, normal like main character like Tidus and Zidane, like more fun, and then it's just like
turns into Cloud at the very beginning. Just
no nonsense.
I'm a mercenary, and that's all. I'm here to get paid.
All I care about, So
it seems like that might happen a little bit. So,
but agreed. Already like a favorite main character, and I mean, you can't go right. The character design is so awesome. The arm, the sword, and then already we see him The change, I'm excited about that. Changing.
Being the main character, maybe we should actually read. I have it pulled up here. Maybe we should actually read the bio of him that's on the Final Fantasy 16 site.
Yeah.
What do you think? I think we should do at least him. I don't know if we should go through all of them. We'll go through all the cast, I think, next.
Yes.
But I don't know if we necessarily need to go through like details of all of them. Maybe just mention a name, stuff. But so here's what they say. It's Clive Rossfield, I think is how you say it. The voice actor is Ben Starr. And it says, the firstborn son of the Archduke of Rosaria, which sounds familiar to me.
That was, yes, one thing.
Not in 12?
I think it is. It's just spelled like there's
differently.
Very minor spelling. So they might say it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Like let's say 12 is Rosaria. This might be Rosaria.
The one like the Al Cid that shows up in 12, he's from the Rosaria, which is like almost a neutral country, if I'm thinking of it right.
Something like that, yes.
It's the one like very has little to do almost. But anyway, so seems like that's a main place in this one, probably technically not related, but though all expected him to inherit Phoenix's flames and awaken as its dominant, Destiny instead chose his younger brother, Joshua, to bear this burden. In search of a role of his own, Clive dedicated himself to mastering the blade. His practice pays off when, at just 15 years of age, he wins the Ducal tournament and is dubbed the first Shield of Rosaria, tasked to guard the Phoenix and blessed with the ability to wield a part of his fire.
Oh.
I did not realize that till just now.
that last line
that
there,
explains why he has the powers.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
He somehow
Because
does get part of it. He's interesting. So he was thought to be, or was going to be, the one to be Phoenix's, what do they call it?
Dominant. That's what they're calling it.
And then it actually was Joshua, the younger brother. So does that play into like how he can still use some of the power?
So, I always wondered.
Very cool.
But, okay, so there's still one more line here. It says, alas, Clive's promising career is to end in tragedy at the hands of a mysterious, dark icon, Ifrit, setting him on a dangerous road to revenge. So yeah, it's clear to talk about revenge, so we know something is going to happen. From the trailers, we know, I go right into the next character that they bring up, Joshua, his younger brother. Something has to happen to him because of the trailers we see. You know that obviously these are going to be some spoilers in this. If you haven't seen the trailers, maybe not watch the rest of this. But in the trailers, it shows I'm assuming your father getting his head chopped off or something, and there's giant blood splatter across Joshua's face.
Yes.
And then in the trailer immediately follows then with Clive in his younger form at him. I'm going under the assumption that Joshua either gets captured or he also gets killed.
Right.
Or assumed killed.
And I'm assuming that is going to happen a little bit earlier on.
Right.
And that is what's going to be setting up the revenge.
Story,
yes, yeah.
Of it. Why and who, I'm still not entirely sure.
Right.
It seems like there's a giant war going on with every single nation. That every single... Because they've shown him fighting every single other icon, which every icon is controlled by a dominant, which is a person from each individual... I almost want to say village. It's straight up like Naruto. Yeah, right. The Jinchuriki, it's like everybody
the
has
tailed beasts. Yes, it's like that. Yeah.
Every single kingdom or empire. Well, I forget what they want to call it.
Maybe
nation. That's probably what they're calling them. Yeah. They all have their own dominant, but it seems like he's fighting all of them. So I don't know which one is necessarily after him. Yes,
you would think, because it talks about the dark icon Ifrit attacking, you would think that that's just what he wants, to go after him. But it seems like it might be a little bit deeper. Maybe it's something he has to defeat the other ones to get stronger, just more power, to then take down who he really wants to take down.
Which is we still don't know that. It's kind of interesting. We don't have a Sephiroth yet. Maybe we will in the story. Maybe they just haven't shown it in the trailers. Maybe that's the big reveal, or I'm just totally missing it from the trailers. But everything that I've seen and read so far, I haven't really picked up on who the clear villain is.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if you have, but
I have not either. Yeah. I have been trying to not like spoil too much because nowadays there is
I didn't want to
so
watch
much
the 20-minute gameplay footage because I was all right, that's
too much stuff gets put out that you know you can know so much of everything and you're like, oh, nothing's like a surprise. Yeah.
The only thing though is I did that for 13. Like, I studied 13 waiting for months. Like, that was all I did for senior year. I didn't do any homework. It was literally every day was just look up, is there new information on 13? And I think I even did a paper on 13. Mm-hmm. And it still delivered. I was still, like, super excited. Like, it only just helped me understand the world, the fall seas and all that. Like, I understood it so much because I'd read it so many times before it came out. However, there have been ones where we saw everything happen and then it like ruins the game because you're like I knew it. Or like movies all the time, you know, you're like
movies big thing,
all the good parts happen in the trailer, so I hope that's not the case in this one.
And I know we go back to 12 where that's kind of what we did with 12, where playing it with the guidebook we just knew everything.
So that's like ruined every scene right before it happened.
Even, so. And then with 15, just how long it took to come out and how much of a hype it had. And then not delivering, it's like, all right, I'm kind of just trying to like lower expectations a little bit, and just not like get overexcited about it.
Yeah. So all right, getting a little bit on track here. I'll just kind of like rattle off, I think, the next ones, and then stop me if there's something you want to talk about.
Sounds good. Yes.
So next we have, let's see, we talked about Joshua. Next we have Jill Ward. I don't want to be a monster. Client. She is the dominant of the icon Shiva, which of course got to bring. So we have Ifrit and Shiva
already.
Classics. So great.
Already good start. And I do like how like Phoenix, almost is the like starting summon. You know, like you always get like a start. Who is the first one you get?
Right.
And it's like. It may or may not be Phoenix. Is it sounding like it's Joshua? But you like again, Kalai might have his powers. So
you show it all the time that he's like using Phoenix's powers. So.
Yes. So I think that's actually really cool that Phoenix is going to be like the starting summon. That's switching it up a little bit.
How the summons are going to work because it's like it's so focused on them. It's not doesn't seem like it's necessarily the traditional. You know, you summon him and he does this big move or something like that.
Definitely,
but it's like every ability that you have is based off of the summon. So it's almost like you're almost a summoner, right?
Kind of, actually,
right?
yeah.
You're
more
almost like a summoner.
Cool, actually,
So, anyways, then the next one they have on the list here is your puppy dog Torgal.
Yes,
so this is the only.
He's actually going to be a big part.
Yes. So apparently he's the only character that you will be able to have control over.
Okay.
And I think he might be able to, like, you can up his abilities and have his own, like, I don't know if he has his own tree, but, like, some of your abilities are going to bolster him.
Yeah, I don't think there's got to be some level of customization, leveling.
I wonder if you can change it because he does have a heal. They've said that he can heal, you can tell him to attack. And so I wonder if it's going to be like you can change him, spec him to like DPS, tank, or heals or something like that. Or
I would like that a lot. That'd be cool.
Really cool.
And so kind of like how in 14 you have you get your Chocobo, your companion.
Yes.
Same thing. You can kind of spec him, tank, heals, DPS.
Now I think it should be said that I'll get into the gameplay a little bit later, but the gameplay was developed by the same people who developed Devil May Cry 5, which I have not played.
Correct, same here.
However, I did see somebody put some footage of side by side, and it was like, oh my god, it's like the exact same.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It has that same like fighter, you know, health bars on the side, and you get your one like dog-like companion.
That's in Devil May Cry.
Yeah, Devil May Cry was like the same, like sick and do like 4 or 5 different moves that you can tell him to do. So I was like, oh, that's a little... I'm glad I haven't played Devil May Cry then, because I would be just comparing it the whole time.
I was going to say, I did want to bring that up. One of my worries, if you will, is, yes, that it's going to maybe not feel like a Final Fantasy. It's going to feel like a Devil May Cry, a God of War.
Yes.
My saving grace with that is, I haven't really played those.
Yeah.
So then, like, let's say after we play this and go and play them, we're going to be comparing it to 16.
Yeah.
So that's works in our favor a little bit.
I know there's other people like our cousin, shout out Jared, who loves Devil May Cry. I'm sure he's played all of them, and so yeah, I don't think he's gonna. I think he might be such a big fan that it's gonna be like, I just love that it is like Devil May Cry.
Right.
I'm gonna have to get over the fact that turn-based RPG is dead.
Yeah.
It just is. I think
the best you are going to get is that and 7, the remake.
The remake,
the
closest
that gets to turn-based, slowing down the battle pacing.
But even still, the traditional turn-based of 1 through 10.
It would be fun to kind of see like how 10 did
13,
it and how
12 kind of different.
Like how many actually weren't turn-based, were ATB before 10, and now 10 brought it back. 7, 8, 9, 6, 4, 5, 4. I think they were all ATB.
4 was the first one with ATB gauge.
Oh, okay.
I think 5 had it, or did 5 go back to then?
5 might have gone back.
I think 5 went backwards. So I think it was 4 had it, and then you jumped to 6 had the ATB.
Okay,
and
6
again. 7, 8, 9 all had ATB gauges.
So that's a good chunk of time.
10 changed it. 12 was its own. I think it technically had an ATB gauge.
Right.
Yeah.
Its own.
It's a little different, but it had it.
But
and then 13 was the same thing, and it changed the ATB just slightly, but it didn't have one. So I guess we kind of had since 13 then, the turn-based. But it just seems like nowadays that it's all just going to be this action RPG style more so.
One thing, too, just a little bit of going into that feel of feeling like a God of War, Devil May Cry, lack of a better term, more action game, hack and slash, if you will, instead of RPG. This one thing, the style, the look of the health bars. So in battle, you have your health bar up top left, green bar, and it looks like I don't know if it's just boss fights or if it's every fight. Enemy. It might just be boss fights, which might be okay, gives it a little bit of a feel. But then the your boss has the red bar on like the right, and then all of a sudden just feels like a fighting game.
Yeah,
it feels like it's like Tekken, or Mortal Kombat. It's like fighting, and now you're going and just whittle it down, and I'm like, I just don't know if
it just hasn't been Final Fantasy to me.
Yeah, so maybe will be something you get used to really quickly. Yeah, and maybe it's only like boss fights, and it just kind of like fits because it is kind of like a cage match, when you're fighting like the icons or something.
I'm trying to look at it more of like it's like Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah,
Kingdom Hearts kind of has that,
right?
So if I'm trying to like mentally get myself prepared that it's like
they're
leaning more towards a Kingdom Hearts style Final Fantasy than it is some just hack and slash. Where like 15 that's actually a good hack and slash.
Yes,
and by that way I mean like I can just get to be button mash, don't know what's going on, and swords are flying everywhere, and I can still win a fight without knowing what's going on. So I hope there's like a lot more strategy based in there. Maybe they bring elements into it very well, or like 13 where like if you don't do a certain strategy against this guy, you are not going to kill him.
Like it will take you days.
Some of the I remember there were some in 13 where you're like you had to switch to a saboteur and debuff the crap out of him before you could even damage him at all. Otherwise you would
even if you buffed yourself you had to debuff him or something. You
had to give
kind of like a little bit more strategy with that.
So, I hope there's something along the lines of that.
But I think that Kingdom Hearts comparison is pretty good because I think it is said you are only going to get to control Clive, the main protagonist.
Yes.
So that's a little bit of
all these
how
characters,
the party works, but it might be like Kingdom Hearts where you have a party, you can change party, but
I think they're all
you only get to control Sora, you only get to control Clive.
Yeah, that was one thing I want to talk about. So the rest of the characters we're going to talk about, also Jill included in that, that they are just basically guests at some point through the story, is all they have said. So far, I don't know for sure, though, if it's going to be like towards the end of the game, there's a culmination, everybody comes together, and you get to change a party at some point. Like
the classic, you get to choose your party members. Yeah.
Or is it going to be like Final Fantasy VI, I think, where it's just like at the end of the game, or 4. 4 is the one like that, where you get to the end of the game and just your lineup is your lineup. Or even have a lineup. I don't even know if you're going to even have anybody in. I think just anybody is a guess, which kind of bums me out because it's always been like your party. And this one thing that bums me out with 14 is like I don't ever really feel. I'm starting to now. I started getting into Shadowbringers.
You're getting to it now,
and you get a little bit of it, but I still don't get the I get to equip them with stuff and like. use them. Like,
yeah,
they're just kind of with me. So I think that's kind of how this one is. That's another one of those on my list of like a little bummed about.
Right.
But I can get over it if the story is going to be as good as it seems like it's going to be. It's awesome.
Like, probably said it before in our other episode, but if the good outweighs the bad,
yes,
that's kind of the defining line of was the
get
game
over some
good
of those things.
or not. There's not going to be a perfect game. You're not going to be able to please everybody, right? But at the
Seven's
end of the day,
close,
let's say the story was good, I will be like, but it didn't feel like a Final Fantasy. That's okay, because like the story just blew my mind.
Right. Which is what I was hoping 15, and 15 just dropped the ball on everybody.
Yes.
But anyways, so, okay, let's go through some of these other characters here quick, and then, because a lot of the things we're talking about I have later.
Yeah, right, yeah, we'll circle back to a couple things, yep.
But, so, let me bring it back up here. So
I do think it is worth noting the director of Final Fantasy XVI is the director from Final Fantasy XIV, Yoshi P. So there is going to be a couple similarities between 14
yeah,
and
you can definitely
16. See and a little funny thing I read was apparently Yoshi P made the core group of 16, the core like developers, go out and watch Game of Thrones. I don't know how much, if it was just first season or not.
Like, they had to like binge all of it, I think.
Yeah, they had to watch all the Game of Thrones to understand the kind of mature story. Yes. He's been saying that he wants a fantasy story, a more like realistic fantasy story.
Right.
So,
which
kind of,
I guess is very
Game
much
of Thrones
like,
kind of fits in where it's this.
It's mostly realistic, but then all of a sudden you throw a dragon in here and you're like,
there is magic,
and
but
there's
it's
every
not
so
like,
often like magic, but they're like blaming that on like, well, it's like a miracle. It's like, things like this happen that we can't explain. It's not necessarily magic. So
there will be some Game of Thrones comparisons. There will be some Final Fantasy XIV comparisons. If you're a fan of either, you might be a fan of this.
Definitely see the.
But I think I also like what you shared something earlier that if anybody compares 16 to Game of Thrones, you must play Tactics.
Yes.
Tactics did it first.
I forget who I saw a tweet about it, and I was like,
shout out whoever had that tweet.
Yeah, sorry, I can't remember the name, but absolutely, I saw that, and I have just played Tactics again. I put it on my phone.
You did, yeah.
Because I could play it while I was feeding my infant her bottle.
Mm-hmm.
I can actually just play through it. So I powered through it because anytime she would take like 20 minutes to have a bottle and there's nothing else I can do but just sit on my phone. So I started playing Tactics again and realized, oh my God, I like read some more of the lore of it and the story of it though. There is so much, like they literally call it a Game of Thrones at one point.
There is one.
There's a quote of it in there.
Yes, I think it's
which is way before Game of Thrones even.
Oh, exactly. That's where I was like, Tactics did it first. They literally say the line, playing a Game of Thrones.
Yes,
because the whole idea of fighting over the throne, all this betrayal, all the different parties.
Yeah. It all starts when somebody wants to take over and spoilers for Tactics, but
yep.
They
if you didn't know now, the podcast is a bit of a
kill
spoiler.
In a way, I guess not to spoil too much, but they kill in a way two of the most powerful people in the story, and one of which that doesn't have a very clear heir. They don't have a clear heir to the throne. There's some people who think it's one, some people who think it's another. Mm-hmm. Very much House of Dragon.
Yeah.
What that one is.
I need to watch that. I have not, but I need to watch that, yes.
All of House of Dragon is like that, but that's what Tactics is. And then it's basically like a handful of different parties all fighting for the same crown.
Yes.
Which is basically Game of Thrones. So, with that came out in 98, I believe. Tactics came out first. 97, 98.
I don't think the books were out quite yet. So.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. I guess I shouldn't say that for sure. Maybe they were written before then, but... And I'm sure it's a tale as old as time, these Game of Thrones things. But anyway, so a little bit sidetracked. But that's what they were basically comparing the story of 16 going to be. And I think
if so, that is going to be amazing.
So let's go right into the rest of these characters because that is exactly...
So now you have a little bit of the mindset of what these characters are going to maybe be like.
So you have the next person... I'm assuming this is kind of like in an order in which you meet these people in the story. How they wrote them.
I would think so.
Because you see this guy in the trailer, and it seems pretty.
Who are we? What are the dominants?
Sidolphus Telemann.
Ooh, got a Sid.
We got our Sid in there.
I think that's been before. Sidolphus, I think is.
Yeah. Again, I think he might have been 12.
I think so. It was. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that he was Sidolphus. Oh wait,
there's
Tactics might have been actually Orlando Sidolphus or something. I could be wrong.
The Thunder God, right?
Yeah,
Orlando.
You forget that he was Sid, but
yes.
So he's the icon of Ramu.
Oh, that's awesome.
Rama.
I think Jared say it.
Jared said Ramu.
I think
he said.
I think like 14 or something. Maybe they say it or something.
Did
I think
they?
it's like Ramu.
Ramu.
Ramu or Ramu.
I always said Ramu.
I think we did. Yeah.
I always said Ramu.
We might find out.
The Electric God.
This might be the first time they actually vocally say.
I did write which one he is. But then the next one is Benedicta Harmon.
Enough of this! I use my talents to my advantage, and you would tell me there is shame in that?
She might be my favorite. She is the dominant of Garuda, which in 14 Garuda gets brought in as a icon.
Yes.
Which we've always seen Garuda be like just like a regular enemy.
Regular enemy, sometimes a boss.
Yeah. I love her design in 14. Absolutely love it.
Yes.
And actually, I play a summoner in 14 and always have Garuda as the summon that you have out with you at all times. I've always had it designed as the Iggy or whatever they call it. Iggy.
But yeah, I like
awesome.
the design that Yoshi P and the direction he has taken with Garuda, taking it from, because at first I was like, Garuda's not a summon though.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel, and then I was like,
you see it though, and you're like, ah.
I like it, and I like it. It's the wind element.
Yes.
We've only seen, because that's kind of like, is
that one's always been,
is he thunder?
Always,
is he wind? Do we tie in that wind element?
The wind one has
the only other one I
can
like think of is like Pandemona in 8.
Oh yeah,
Typhoon
in 7. But he's like not even technically wind.
I haven't really had like a staple for it, and I feel like now
Garuda's
Yoshi P is like Garuda is the wind summon,
and we're gonna make her. We were talking about this earlier. I was saying she might be taking over the crown of the Queen of Summons, if you will. I think she looks better than Shiva.
Yeah.
Especially in 14.
She might be the reason it's rated M.
Yeah. Maybe we get some Garuda boobies.
Yeah,
maybe.
Right.
Maybe.
See, Shiva,
Again,
if it's Game of Thrones,
but she does seem like she might be one of the villains. She might be another one of those that is after.
I wonder, like how they say there's dark. They said the dark Ifrit, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder.
Is that what everybody's fighting over then? Everybody's trying to get Ifrit from Clive. I don't know.
That or so then is Garuda also maybe the dark? And also, if there's a dark, is there a light?
There is. We will get to that a little bit later. So the next one though is Hugo Kupka?
We shared a dream. I would be the king of the world.
Massive bald dude, and he is the icon.
I thought you were
Titan.
saying massive balls. I was like, okay. This guy just massive balls.
This guy's just got massive balls.
What kind of character design is this?
That's the true reason why it's rated M. Titan, just these massive balls hanging down it. Oh god. Oh no! Now I'm imagining this rock hard nuts.
Yeah. What was his name?
Hugo Kupka.
Was he also a dominant?
Yes, he's the dominant of Titan.
Oh, Titan.
Titan, yeah. That's cool. So
so you got
which is
a good amount of summons already.
Yeah,
got like
I
these
love
staples.
That. It's just, summons are like some of my favorite things in Final Fantasy.
And I do love when the story is centered around them a little bit, because there are some Final Fantasies where it's like you get summons, but it's like
they're very,
I don't know,
minor, but
like 7, like you get them, but it's never really like addressed that's like that's why what separates you guys.
There's only one. There's only like one moment where they address it, and it's when you do the Wutai side quest with Yuffie, and they address the Leviathan as their water god.
Oh, they do.
And they do mention that in that one that that when Leviathan was so powerful that when he died, he didn't just go to the live stream. He actually became then like the materia.
Very cool.
They do actually mention it. Shout out to every FNFF podcast. I have been listening to them nonstop as their playthrough, their very first one of 7.
Been learning,
and that was where they brought
stuff.
that up to my attention. I've played it so many times, never realized it, but they brought that up there. Awesome podcast, absolutely loving it.
After you're done listening to us, go give them a listen.
Yeah, every FNFF podcast.
But yeah, shout out to them because you have told me a couple of things. We both have learned new things, even just about 7.
Yeah, I've played it so many times. My favorite one, and I'm listening to this, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I didn't know that."
And it's like, "Oh, that's Genova," and about doing that. Oh, okay, that does make sense. Yeah. So very cool. Yeah.
So, but speaking of favorite summons, my absolute favorite summon.
Darkness has taken hold of you. It has made you forget yourself.
Bahamut, and that is
the King of Dragons.
Dion Lesage? And I'm not sure.
We will have some weird names.
Yeah, I don't know the last names.
Yoshi P. If it's anything like 14. Some names might be hard to pronounce.
Yeah. Can't understand a word that guy says.
Horsefant.
Yeah. Horsefant. Oh, poor Horsefant. But yeah, Dion, he is the icon, or the dominant of the icon, Bahamut.
That seems a little unfair.
Yeah.
I feel like we're having a little bit of a
he seems pretty sweet.
power discrepancy here.
Typically, so he's the icon of dragons. So he's going to be a dragoon style. He's got a lance and everything.
Yes.
He looks awesome.
Oh, that's going to be the best character.
He might be one of my favorites. Please just stay in the party like for a while.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, if you like...
So, speaking of that, though, I was going to bring this into later, but when I was reading about them, the nations of them, each nation kind of has their own element with it. Bahamut is of light in this one.
Ooh.
He's almost always been, if not always, has been non-elemental.
Non-elemental,
but in this one, it seems Bahamut is of light in this.
So, I like that. I think that works.
You bring it in element, and I think, I mean, he is the good god of dragons in pretty much any lore out there.
Yeah. And that's interesting because I think in Final Fantasy, again, he's not quite a summon Bahamut, but he's in there.
And he has the power to increase the warriors of light. Mm-hmm. He gives you extra power of light. So it is bringing it all back here.
Wow.
I love the whole idea of it. So moving right along though to the next one, you got Barnabas Tharmer.
Your efforts will avail us naught.
Thermer. Again, these last names I'm just abysmal at pronouncing these. But the first names we'll get. And I wonder if we ever hear him. This one's going to be really cool too. So going back to what you were saying, he is the dominant of the icon Odin. So bringing the staple Odin back in again, of course. He is of darkness.
I was going to say, I think.
So there you go. There's your light and dark. You got Bahamut and Odin. So far we've gotten 2 different fire, though. We've got Ifrit as fire, and we also have Phoenix of fire.
Ooh. And
but then we have Ramu of lightning, Shiva is ice, we've got Garuda wind, Titan earth, and then we got Bahamut and Odin of light and dark.
Okay.
So we've got all the elements here. That's all the characters that they have really like specified on.
That is a couple more than I was aware of. I did see a trailer, and because at first we didn't know if we were having a party. It was kind of talk of just Clive, and we were a little iffy on that. Then you kind of came in, and they came out with like Torgal, the dog. You have like a companion, and then I did see one female and like a male that you did get. But then again, they kind of did say you might not be controlling them, but they may be in your party. They may come and go.
Yeah.
But then that's a couple more guys, and now there's a couple of them I'm really excited for, man.
But I think they've basically stated that they're going to be like just a guest in how that's a staple in Final Fantasy.
It is.
Excuse me.
And then
you
dying,
get a guest and you
they
don't
might
really
die too, because that's a staple.
It seems odd though, because they're saying these are the party members, but every trailer it shows you fighting their icon.
Yes,
and then you like gain their power afterwards.
Yes.
So it's like, are they with us and then they just turn on us, or we turn on them? Like what? I don't really understand that part of that.
Yes. So at first it's almost like, oh, hey, there are party members because they are also dominants. And, like, that's what's going to, like, make us...
Yeah, we're all...
The heroes save the day. But then it's like, yeah, we have clearly seen him fighting other dominants or icons in what almost seems he gets their power. Because we've
almost
seen
seems like he kills them, too.
Yeah.
It's like...
We've seen some gameplay trailers where he's fighting and he, like, doesn't have Garuda. He's not doing Garuda moves. And then he does. So it's like you got those powers.
Yes.
So did you take them from the party member? Are they still a dominant?
It almost seems, like he kills. But then they say, like, these are your party members. So
that would be crazy if you got them and, like,
then
you fight them and kill them. Oh, man.
That's going to be a little messed up.
That would be a dark story, yeah.
I think about it.
He just is like, I'm out for revenge. I don't care. We're friends for a couple minutes, you know?
Total mind blow. Clive is the villain.
Ooh, right?
That's close.
Super is calling it right now.
I do have a theory I want to get to before we finish up that I want to say on the record to see if I'm right. But the next things that I want to talk about, unless there's something else you want to talk about, I kind of made a list of us to get through things.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So the next thing I want to talk about, though, is the world of it. And now we have the characters, but now I'm going to talk about the world and the nations that all these people belong to. But let's start off with Valisthea. I think is how you say it. The world itself. Mm-hmm. The Eorzea, if you will, of this world.
The
Valisthea. I'm going to actually, because this is the main whole thing, I'm going to read the synopsis that they put on it. It says, a land blessed in the light of the mother crystals. The land of Valisthea is studded with mother crystals, glittering mountains of crystal that tower over the realms around them, blessing them with ether. Again, ether spelled the exact same way that it is in all of 14, which is like the energy of everything, kind of the life stream, everything. You live off of this ether.
The force, the life stream.
I assume that it's basically going to be the same thing. That these crystal, almost like Crystal Chronicles 2, with the crystals bringing you life force. So, for generations, people have flocked to these beacons to take advantage of their blessing, using the ether to conjure magics that let them live lives of comfort and plenty. Great powers have grown up around each mother crystal, and an uneasy peace has long reigned between them. Yet now the peace falters as the spread of the blight threatens to destroy their dominions. So it almost seems like, a little bit of spoilers again, I am just getting into Shadowbringers in 14. However, all the little bit of that I've gotten into it, and you get to the world, and it's talking about a blight that destroys a world of sorts.
Yes.
Sounds like this might be something similar. A calamity of sorts is starting to happen. These mother crystals might be losing their powers. Everybody's starting to freak out about it.
Yes,
that might be where this is going, and then everybody's starting to fight over the other mother crystals because maybe theirs are losing powers. They haven't said specifically, but that's kind of what I got out of that, at least.
Very interesting. You gotta love a classic Final Fantasy story revolving around crystals. Yeah. So that's like a plus.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and it seems like we're going to do the typical from like 1 through 5 even, where you're like,
the other kingdoms
you go
have
to an
crystal.
Elemental crystal and we're gonna go destroy it. I wonder think that's pretty much
that could answer our question maybe of how your party members are also dominants and how Clive has power. Maybe it's coming from the crystal.
Oh, that would make sense, and that's what the next bit here. Actually, I do want to read because this is it seems very important to the world of it.
Yeah,
it says magic without crystals, a bearer's burden. Most men and women in Valisthea rely on the mother crystals to conjure their magics. However, a small number are born with the ability to cast magics at will. Oh. A bearer's lot in life differs dramatically depending on the realm in which they are born. Wow. So that might just be Clive. Might be one of those that he's just born. Instead of being born with the dominant of Phoenix like they thought, he was born with power of magics.
Yes.
That might be what it is. I'm assuming we're going to find this out like immediately, but maybe not. But these names, again, I'm probably going to butcher the hell out of them. But so you've got the Grand... What is it? Oh, my Lord. I can't even read my own writing here.
Gotta look it
Grand duchy of Rosaria, basically Rosaria, in that so every single nation, I should go back, every nation has its own dominant that is part of it.
Crystal, which is its dominant,
the dominant
element.
and an icon, an element, all of that. Every single place has its own theme, really. So Rosaria's is the Phoenix, and which is fire, obviously.
Okay, yes.
So that's kind of what we're talking about. So this is where it gets confusing because none of these have Ifrit as one of them, which confuses me.
Yes.
So like Phoenix is of Rosaria, but there is also another fire one that Clive gets instead of Phoenix. So yeah, as like I don't know if there's a anyways
because he's almost sounded like destined to get Phoenix, but doesn't. But then gets another fire one, but we don't know where that comes from. So
I wonder if that's
going to be a maybe a focal point. That's going to be something you figure out.
All right, so the next one is the Holy Empire of Sanbarek, which that one is light with Bahamut then as its icon.
That's gonna be a cool place.
I'm curious if that one, from reading the thing, it almost sounds like this might be the evil empire.
Somebody's
call it the Empire. Empire's never good. Empire's
I
always
really cannot
evil.
think of
So I'm assuming this one might be the evil one. But it's a little weird that it's the light. So maybe not.
So again, maybe a shout out to Shadowbringers. Or again, sorry, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But again, this has been out and it's not really spoiling anything in Shadowbringers.
It's been out for a while.
Yeah, along the lines of light almost being bad, in the sense of there's like an elemental balance. All the elements live in harmony, basically. And if one, let's say there's too much of one, it tips the scales. And
very Star Wars-esque.
Yeah,
but it's very like all elements.
Yes, there's not just
there's a
light and dark. Yeah,
all elements.
So then, in what happens is there is too much light element and a blight, a calamity, a catastrophe happens. So I wonder if that is something that's
maybe that empire is too powerful.
Yes, and like we're saying, sounded like the crystals were losing power, and if there's just some weird elemental imbalance.
Yeah. So the next one, the Kingdom of Malode. Yikes. I don't know that place. So this is the Odin and Darkness. So
now that'll be interesting if they're not bad.
That's curious. Yeah. The Darkness maybe not bad. Yeah, maybe it is a Shadowbringers type thing. Now this is where it gets interesting for me. This next nation, spelled very different than we've heard this before. The Dalmekian Republic, but it is spelled Dhalmekian. Dalmekian may sound very familiar.
Another familiar one.
I guess it's
because in 12 it was right? How do they say it? They're the nation of Dalmasca.
Yeah, but you're a Dalmekian if you're from Dalmasca.
Okay.
I think
something like
that's what it is.
Because I don't Dalmatian. I don't think that's right.
Yeah, I think they're a Dalmekian is what they would say. So that is interesting to me that it's another like
two nations that were from 12.
Which I keep saying 12, but then also we must reiterate to some people who don't really know. But Final Fantasy Tactics and Final Fantasy 12 both share the same universe called Ivalice, which a lot of these things that we keep referencing are in kind of both of them. Rosaria is the part of it that's very similar, and now Dalmasca is a very big part, actually the main part of 12.
Yeah.
But now they're bringing this in as another nation of Dalmekian. So I'm starting to wonder, maybe this actually is, or are they just doing throwbacks and shoutouts to it?
Is it just kind of a nod? Because 12 was very... How... The style of this one and 14 is, let's say, like... the voice acting, it's like Shakespearean.
Yes,
if that's like the right word.
A lot more Shakespearean.
The way they talk,
type
medieval Shakespearean, older English. It's a little bit like harder to understand and stuff like that. 12 kind of started that, so I wonder if it's just that similar world building that they're kind of going through. So it's
Yeah.
just like a nod. They're like, hey, 12 was this kind of
Yeah, maybe that's just all it is.
medieval Shakespearean
Using
way that
some
it's like
names.
that's also the war. It's like Game of how you're nodding to Game of Thrones
Yeah.
like that. You're doing that as well.
So, that place, the Machian Empire, is also in a desert, which is basically what Del Basketball was. And so, that being said, it's Titan is the icon.
Oh, okay, that
And,
works.
Earth, obviously. would be
Also,
what it is.
technically, shouldn't really be spoiling anything either in 14. Evilise is in 14.
That's right.
You do
You
this,
do Rabbit
believe it-
Aster.
Yes, I believe Stormblood.
Have yet to do, but yes,
Stormblood
Stormblood
raids. They do a
Yes.
great tactics and 12 crossover.
That's right. You were explaining this to me like a long time before I even like really started playing. Yeah.
But
Very
there's a little issue. So
Yeah,
there is this connection with 12 and tactics, obviously confirmed, and there's a little connection with 14,
Yes.
making a little nod to 12 and tactics, bringing it kind of, in a way, making it like canon, like in the world.
I think,
But like
ever
it's
since
different enough
Dissidia-
that it's like not really. So now we go on to 16 with the connection of 14, which will maybe have that little nod to 12 and tactics.
So ever since Final Fantasy Dissidia came out, they kind of have made it so it's like a multiverse for Final Fantasies, right?
That
so
is
it's
like
almost
how
like
I picture it.
they
now.
aren't the same world, but they're also like, well, it could be in one of the multiverse worlds of all of the worlds. You know, everything's connected nowadays anyway. So
Right, yeah.
They're just way of nodding it. So there's one more nation. I think there's just the one more. The Iron Kingdom. Now this one is interesting because this one does not have a dominant, they've said. And they've said that this one is basically like a religious cult place that hate the dominants and don't think that we should rely on the powers of them. Of
Very
sorts.
interesting.
Actually, maybe I should just read it.
I think so,
read
yeah.
the synopsis, because this one's very interesting, and maybe this might be part of the main story as well. It says, the Iron Kingdom, forged in faith and fear, a small group of islands off the coast of Storm, the western half of Valistia's twin realms. Here the crystalline orthodox, an extreme faith that worships crystals, reigns supreme. The Iron Kingdom controls Drake's Breath, the mother crystal that sits at the heart of one of their islands. Long a source of contention with neighboring Rosaria. Isolated and aloof from the mainland nations, the Ironblood speak their own language. Orthodox doctrine judges dominance to be unholy abominations, and any unlucky enough to be born on the islands are executed. So they straight up just oof babies.
Wow.
You born the power of dominant, like your Naruto, instead of just ostracizing you, they would have oofed Naruto.
Just
straight
done
up
away with you.
Often.
And it's interesting because now we see, or like what you read before, the crystals almost, right? Or like you're saying, you're just born with like the power of dominant.
Yeah.
Does it come from the crystal or not? It's not like they chose it or anything. They are just like, oh, they have this.
They have it.
Don't want it. Done with it.
You don't want it.
So
there actually is one more.
Are they going to be the bad guys?
Again, yeah, there's so many.
Is
but
it
I
going
think
to
maybe
be...
that's the Game of Thrones thing, because like
I think that's what
watching
we're
Game of
seeing.
Thrones, you're really like, who's the main character?
Yes.
Who really is the villain in this? Like,
There isn't-
You kind of think, but every time you think so, then it turns another corner, and then it's like, you think this person is, and then it's this person, and this person, and then you get to the ending, and it's absolute garbage. But
yeah, like the overall villain is like the
Yes.
Night King, but he really doesn't become like a main threat villain till later seasons.
Yeah. There's
So is it going to be like that? You're going to have
And, like,
either one
depending on
bad
your
guy, then you're going to have the
perspective.
overall bad guy, then you're going to have three other bad guys just fighting for the same thing. So we'll see.
So there is one more place though, the Crystallian Dominion. Now this one is also interesting. It's kind of like a neutral ground, from what it's sounding like. Kind of, I think it's like in the middle, basically, of Valistia, and everybody's kind of like had a armistice.
I was gonna say, I wonder if it's just like the war grounds, basically, where
it's almost like a peace ground, though. It sounds like is what it's supposed to be.
Yes,
sounds like there might be some breaking of that in this story, but so far that's basically what it reads here in the gist of it. So that is though where it's like every nation has its dominant right now,
right?
but then they don't specify. It's like, where is Shiva and Garuda from in Ifrit?
I was gonna say, did they?
They don't say the nations of those. I don't think.
Did Ramu have
At least
one?
they didn't listen. Oh yeah, and Ramu.
So a couple...
I think they might have in the character. They didn't really miss it, but then they didn't really mention like the nation of it. So
okay,
that's where I kind of missed.
So where
that
are they coming from?
I think they do actually say Shiva's, but now I can't think of it. And they didn't mention it though in that. But maybe yeah, so that's kind of the whole world. That's all the
world, the characters, a little
basically
idea of a story.
Yeah, we've thrown out ideas. So speaking of those story thoughts, do you have anything else you want to add before I go on my rant that I want to go on?
I don't think so. I got stuff. Yeah, we can maybe come back to.
Okay, so after all of this with these characters and all this world stuff that we've talked about, and everything I've seen, this is my theory, and this basically comes from Final Fantasy II.
Okay.
If you remember Final Fantasy II, at the very, very beginning, you open up and there's 4 of you. You're all supposedly siblings, right?
I remember you talking about this.
You fight these knights that have raided your hometown, killed basically everybody. You're trying to escape. You all basically almost get killed. When you wake up, you're missing your brother Leon. Mm-hmm. He is gone. Now, again, spoilers, but this is like a 20-something-year-old game, I'm assuming. Don't care. He turns out at the very end of the game, well, throughout the game...
you just presume him dead, because you just no idea.
He's gone. You have no idea. You don't hear anything about him for, like, most of the game, right? You do keep fighting, however, this one Dark Knight throughout the game.
Oh, that's right.
You don't know who he is until, like, very much the ending. Turns out it was your brother Leon who had been captured and brainwashed the entire time.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Comes back. This ties into where my thoughts of this. We see a very young Joshua get essentially kidnapped, it seems like, with the scene that I talked about earlier with the blood splatter and then Clive going, Joshua! After him, right?
Right.
So, and then it seems like Clive goes into this dark place. So I think Joshua gets
And we see a
captured.
bit of like a time skip, right? You know, we see...
I'm thinking he's either killed, presumed dead, or gets captured.
Or worse.
A foe will not relinquish their mother crystal easily. This will be a bitter fight.
You should not be out of doors. We have discussed this. Come, Joshua. Your father will be expecting us.
I am Joshua's shield. I'm sworn to protect him. Take Joshua and get to safety.
I'm not going without you.
I'm going to hold the enemy here while you make your escape.
Your Highness! Run! No!
Clive!
Joshua! Stop this!
I sometimes wonder if I am controlling it, or if it's controlling me. 13 years I've waited for this chance. I won't be dying today.
I think he dies. My main thing is I think he dies because of him being a phoenix. What is Phoenix? The rebirth bird, right?
Yes.
So I think bird of rebirth. So
there's a point.
I also think this is where they get his name from. So Phoenix being of rebirth, that it dies and it's born anew, right? So I think that's going to be mirroring his character arc. He dies and he comes back as the villain. He's going to be the main villain that you don't know about throughout it. Don't know it's him necessarily that is causing most of this, or being brainwashed throughout the whole time.
Yeah.
And when he comes back, I think he's going to come back as like evil, something,
or like,
he's the one who's revenge, almost like a Delita. If you remember in Tactics, Delita loses his sister, and then he disappears for a while, and he comes back, and he's working with the bad guys, but then he turns out to not be working with bad guys, but then he is bad, but he's not bad. One of those things. I think Joshua might be like this.
You would basically live long enough to see yourself become the villain type thing, where he basically, Delita his end goal is good, but basically
He will
does
do any
bad guy
means-
things
yes,
to
any
do
means
it.
to
So
get
it's
to
like,
there. So-
are you a good guy anymore if
I'm
all you do
wondering
is bad
if
things?
Joshua is kind of like that.
Okay.
Another thing
Man.
that leads me to this is his name, Joshua, which is very familiar.
Yeah.
But,
But,
however, the name Joshua comes from, I believe it's Hebrew, I want to say. And it was also, it's been loosely translated, I guess, throughout the years to be Jesus.
Oh, really?
Joshua is a version of Jesus that was loosely translated from, I believe it started from like Greek, but then there wasn't the certain letters to translate it, and like Hebrew, same thing. They're trying to translate Jesus to English. Was very difficult, so that's where it became. And Jesus actually was Yeshua.
I was just saying, yeah,
Used
thought
to
I
be-
remember.
Used to be
I've
called
heard that.
Yeshua, and
Kids
then that
probably
was
see
the
that in some-
translations slowly became Joshua into English, which then later years they also switched it to Jesus. But so that's kind of where Joshua came from, is a version of Jesus.
Yes.
What does Jesus do but die and rise again? What Jesus is a phoenix,
Yes.
again dying and reborn. However, I do think he might be evil.
I think
That is my hot take. To be frank,
Yep,
to be
the
super
the
frank,
super frank hot take.
hot take. Joshua, I'm calling it. Joshua is going to be evil, possibly turn back to good at the very, very end, like probably the last dungeon or something like that. But throughout the game, might not know it, but maybe he's pulling strings throughout the whole time, or is evil.
Whether it's like his own accord or
brainwashed in
Yes.
some way. I also brought up Golbez is very similar. Also,
see,
Cain gets the same kind
Cain
of
does
deal.
get basically, yeah. I think even technically 3, like Zandi, I believe, is like technically like used.
Somewhat similar.
And then it's like, oh, Clouded.
In a way,
maybe or not. I get a little.
He's very
the ending of.
somewhat, yeah.
But yeah, Golbez, I do forget that he isn't actually like a bad guy.
Yeah.
He at the end is like.
He was being brainwashed by the Lunarians the entire time.
And like Zeromus or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's a little, there's like Xenus, who then was like controlled by like Zeromus or something.
Yeah, I never even got that far, but I know that it gets very sort of convoluted. And,
so something like that could definitely happen where you are like, screw this bad guy.
Yes.
And then you find out who it is.
Yeah.
Like in 2.
Wait.
And then you find out, oh, you weren't actually like bad.
And also being story being kind of followed and inspired by Game of Thrones, I also think that's very likely that it's going to be this back and forth. He's good, he's bad, he's good, he's bad, or just like non-existent throughout most of it.
Right.
And you don't realize he's pulling strings from behind. That's my hot take. That's basically, I think I've got through most of what I kind of want to talk about, though.
Super called it here first.
Yeah.
Joshua resurrecting
Dies or assumed to dead.
evil.
And comes back. Comes back evil.
We will wait to see. We only got a short month here.
Yeah, and hopefully, and probably by the time you're watching this, it will be coming out very shortly.
Yes.
I'm assuming within a week or two, probably by the time this is out.
That is true, yes.
So, very short time.
So, after you watch this, go pre-order it?
Yeah. Yes, this was recorded before I played it, before the demo, before they really said anything about it. So,
yeah, I wrote down just like a couple random stuff to like.
I think I got through anything that I really want to talk to. So
that's the main. Again, the characters, the story, the world. You kind of have a picture of what 16 is. Just going off of that, I am very excited. You have a story around summons and icons, and you have like the OGs, if you will.
Yeah.
We have a story revolving around crystals. Fantastic. Like we were kind of already saying earlier, a little worried, is it going to feel like Final Fantasy or not?
Yes.
Even if the battle doesn't, maybe, this story is already
so far,
like, sounds really good.
Unless it pulls a 15.
Unless I was just going to say,
and just like you're pushing a car for 10 hours.
No, man,
and fixing a car for 20 hours of it.
Yes.
Which they basically have stated does not happen. So.
So one thing we were talking earlier, we've talked a little bit about 12. I thought of this earlier, and ties in with the time jump, that there will be one or two kind of time jumps that we see. We've talked already about, a younger Clive going into a little bit more middle age, going into a little bit more mature aged. My fear, if you will, is that young Clive and this turmoil that happens with Joshua, what sets up the whole story, I really hope it's not the opening scene. I really hope that you don't press new game and you see a cinema and that's you're like,
I have a feeling
hey,
it is.
Who's this guy? And he just like hops off a chocobo and then it's like, oh, we're getting attacked. Oh, Joshua's dead. They're dead. Dies. And you're like, I don't know what this
you get
is happening.
Feeling for
in 12, the very beginning, you see this very cool looking dude.
Yes.
Razzler. White hair, cool armor, getting married, cool sword. You're like, I'm gonna get to play as this guy. Cool.
Yeah.
And he dies. Not even a spoiler alert. Again, it's in the opening scene. He goes to a war,
Not even
goes to a battle, dies, and you're like, well, I thought that was the main character. Who am I gonna play as?
And then they do it to you again.
And then they do it to you again.
Do the tutorial as this
tutorial.
Like, okay, this is the main character.
You're like, okay, that makes sense.
Rex.
So I really hope that you get to go and do like just one thing. You start off as Clive, and it's like the tutorial. You go out and do just even like an hour or two. Go out and explore one area.
Some attachment to him before something happens.
You get some attachment to your home, to Joshua, the kingdom.
It'd be awesome to be like Tales of Arise. You remember Tales of Arise? And what's his name?
Elfin.
Not Elfin.
Oh, not the main guy.
Not the main guy.
Oh,
the
Zephyr.
Zephyr.
They did him very well.
Again, spoilers.
A little bit of spoiler, yes.
It's not too far in the game, but yeah, to get him as a guest, and then similar thing. But you get to play with him for a couple of places, just enough to start to like the guy before something happens.
Before you lose him,
not in your party much longer.
So,
but yes, I agree.
That would be awesome. Is if you in the very beginning, like the tutorial, you have like Joshua with you or something.
Yeah.
But I just don't
even playing as him.
I just don't want to see opening scene.
Is that one where it's the blood splatter on his face?
Yes, the blood splatter, the Phoenix versus Ifrit, and then it's like, and I just hope you get to do a little bit first.
Just one.
So so then just a couple other
we can go a little while.
Like random things. I was kind of talking to you about this before the podcast. I read something interesting about how there hasn't been an airship in Final Fantasy.
Yes.
And how many of the last ones? 15 a little bit. You get it's a car though. It's a car that it's not an airship.
Yeah.
You fly.
You don't get it till the end.
After the game. That's not how it works. All right. There's a formula.
Not how it works.
Yeah. So that was something like a traditional airship. 12 had an airship. So then we have to go all the way back to 12. Oh, kind of an airship.
Yeah. But again, you don't fly it around.
And then same thing with 10. Kind of an airship. So really, like a traditional one hasn't happened since like 9?
9. Yeah.
So I'm
9.
9.
Yeah, 9.
So it is tough though. I don't know how it will work in today's kind of games because we talked about this. Fast travel. With games being so big and bigger maps, you do have to have it. It would just stink to be like, oh, I want to run back to this village, but that's 30 minutes. Yeah,
even driving in 15. Then when I was just replaying,
it literally is
took
minutes.
Like 10 minutes.
It's like, hey, go here. It's literally minutes
to go across the map.
So,
like, oh my god, that's
so if you were literally just like, bro, I literally just forgot to talk to this one person. I do not feel like running. For 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Then you can just do fast travel. And, that it kind of works. So I feel like you do need fast travel because these games are so big, these maps are so big. But I do feel like you should have it. You can't do it at sometimes.
Yeah.
So that if it works in the story.
Going back to Tales of Arise.
Mm-hmm. I think I kind of stole it from that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Which, little quick side note, jumping in here.
Mm-hmm.
When we were talking back about how I'm sad that like turn-based RPG is dead.
Yeah.
Tales of Arise gives me hope that I will like 16th Battle Style because Tales of Arise is definitely not turn-based, but I absolutely loved that game.
Yeah.
That game was fantastic. And story was fantastic.
Yep.
The gameplay was so much fun. The one thing is you do get the party in there that's a little bumming.
So that might be the little difference of 16.
However, it still was like it didn't switch that often because it was fun. Right? You could be the same person the whole game and still have fun
and still enjoy it. Yeah,
and so that's where like it didn't feel like hack and slash. Necessarily, there definitely was like some strategy and stuff into it sometimes. So, anyways,
hopefully,
I forgot about that. I just want to throw that in there.
Yes, yeah. So hopefully, it's we get something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I also just got. Yeah, we've already kind of touched if it feels like a Final Fantasy. That's important for us. Final Fantasy themes. You know, you gotta have a Cid. Got that. You gotta have chocobos. That's in there. You gotta have crystals, summons, a couple other things that we need. Biggs and Wedge.
Oh yes.
Like they gotta make an appearance, right?
You gotta have a Biggs and Wedge.
I love that. And
I remember when their first appearance
like Moogles.
Was it 6? Was that the first
was it
time?
First? Yeah.
In 6 though?
So it's actually they were a little bit of a later thing that got added, but for
I don't know
us
that it was
when we started playing Final Fantasy, they've just been in it
every single
So it's like you gotta have like a Biggs and Wedge. I love when they do a little nod to that.
Yeah.
Moogles, just in some way, whether it's just like
there is. They did do show us a Moogle.
Cool.
At least one we do know. I think it's in like the main like you go back to like this main town or dungeon or whatever it seems like often, and that's where you do your quests and you buy your shops and everything. And I think he's one of those guys. I forget now exactly, but we do see him. There is confirmation Moogles are at least one is in it.
Nice, yes.
So they're hitting the mark on a lot of these so far.
Yeah, and another thing that might tie into your theory, a rival. Somebody, kind of like two parts for me. One, somebody you fight multiple times. I'd like that. That is a
Nova, a Cypher,
yes,
a Kuja / Beatrix,
yes,
Seymour.
Even 6 is Ultros.
Yes,
like a little bit goofy, but like there is a boss.
Yes,
and then my second point of that, I want you to lose to them. I love when that happens.
Yes.
In 9, when you fight Beatrix and you lose.
Yes, every time you get your butt whooped.
And they write it into the story like she's just stronger than you, and it's like it just shows like you getting stronger. It just shows like how awesome would it be if Clive is just all about revenge. He thinks he's just all that because he's got these power of the icons. He's like dominant, and then goes and fights somebody and gets whooped.
Yeah,
and then now he's like. Yes. What the shit? Like, what am I got to do? Like, so I that would be awesome. You got to have a rival, somebody you lose to, or at least just like a fight. Like, you fight the bad guy and you lose. That's like the classic hero's journey.
Yeah, recurring rival or demon. Be cool if it was Joshua.
Yeah, and maybe without you even knowing.
Yeah, not knowing that it's Joshua.
But yeah, so I think that was just a couple of things wanting to see, going into maybe a couple of things I don't want to see or a little worried about.
Okay.
I think it's
been so far really positive. So here we go.
Yeah, right. So maybe a couple of negative things we can watch out for. For us, the party members.
Yeah.
So it is confirmed we do have party members, but we don't know for like how long, how far into the game do they go just like you use them for a boss fight? And are we really majority only using Clive?
Yeah.
Because for me,
are they useful? That's my other thing.
That's another thing.
Do they feel like they're actually doing
15
damage?
Where it's like, dude, like you just if you took them out,
Yeah. I wouldn't even notice.
Yeah. So I'm hoping for good AI with them, like a Kingdom Hearts comparison again, where I want you to be able to tell them a couple of skills to do, yes or no, fight this way. I hope some good AI.
Focus on healing, focus on damage, don't use a MP.
Not just like they're just in there and you don't even get to customize that. Like
I'm afraid that's what it is, but really hoping it's not.
Yeah.
Really hoping there's more to it than there's just in a fight.
And for me, when last time playing Crisis Core, there was a couple of times where I almost felt like a little bored in the battle. And even though you can customize Zack any way you want, and I liked how they had sets, so you didn't have to like go and physically change. You could just 2 presses of like a button, and you could like have a whole new set of materia. So you could go from magic, you could go physical, you could go support, debuffing. There's a lot of different ways you could customize them. End of the day, you were still Zack. Your attack combo was still the same combo. So just playing as one character can get a little boring. 40, 50, 60 to 100 hours playing. That's my only... Tales of Arise, the second you were like, a little bored.
Yeah.
I was like, one,
new ability.
Switch up
characters.
your abilities.
Yeah.
You can whole new abilities.
Yeah.
But the second that got boring, a whole new character, whole new way of playing, whole new set of abilities.
Yes.
So the second you were bored, that's your fault. You know, that's on you.
You're not playing.
You're not playing it right. So that's like that's why I want.
I will
party
say
members.
I am a little bit hopeful though that it's going to feel like the icon powers are more of your party members than the party members.
Okay, yes.
Where you can customize completely, and it seems like you get like all the powers, but I think you might only be able to equip a couple at a time. So there's that customization where you can play a different style, I think, and leveling them differently. I do know they have shown that that you get like a skill tree and you get to
Garuda,
level them.
you level Shiva.
Yes, you get to level them differently that way. So hopefully that will break up the
staleness of just
monotony of the same
same
hack and slash of just pressing this button over and over. Then you get different combos of things, and then you get a new ability and change it up. So
so hopefully so
maybe not party member, but if that's fun enough, I might be able to. Okay.
I might again, if the good outweighs the bad, if it's still fun, it still doesn't feel like
have fun
boring. Another thing tying into the battle style
differently every time. So.
I could see it where you're just an overpowered beast. Like in 15, it really wasn't ever difficult.
Yeah, anything story was like super.
Because again, you went and did so much side quests, so that hopefully they have a good pacing with side quests to story. Where again,
I want
15,
a game over.
Yes, again,
Make me get game over at some point
and have
in
to
the game.
go and train.
Yeah,
have to go and level,
or come
have to
in
go
with a
and
different
practice.
strategy. Do they have to like change equipment and think about this?
And actually, like, oh crap, so that's one thing. I can kind of see it being just you can just press R1 and you're just getting destroying with icons, but it's like
I just realized there is though difficulty levels. That they have said there's the story mode, which is probably what that's going to be. You can have then I think like a normal mode, and I think there is a hard mode. I don't know if you start off with it,
right?
But there is going to be one they said that's going to be extremely difficult, like Final Fantasy VII Remake, where you play the. I don't know if you get it like afterwards or if you start with it, but it's going to be like. He said very extremely hard to get through.
And I think that is smart to cater
to
everybody in different level of gamers.
Yes.
In the sense of there might be somebody who's just like, I'm just not good. That's just too hard. And it's just like, just let me press R1 and
I want to be able
battles.
to play. I know it's rated M. However, I do want to play with Ares.
Yeah.
I'll play with my son a little bit. So yeah, that would be fun, like the story mode.
Something
so
like
it's just very simple where he can actually
like how we used
to get through it with
like how we used to play with our cousin, shout out Chad. He would like run around for us.
Yeah.
And then like we would do like the battle. It would be like you just changed it to the easy. I'm playing on the easy mode, and I can actually
I was just doing
play
that.
it.
Actually, I was just making him play 7 again.
Oh, you got him to do it?
I got him to play for a little bit again. He's only 2 hours in.
The 5-year-old playing.
Distracted again for like half hour, and he actually beat the Airbuster. I didn't help him at all.
No way.
He just destroyed it. I don't know why. He did. I think he did Big Shot with Barrett, like almost
on the back,
opened it, and just did like 600 damage when he's only got like 1,000 or something. And I was like, dang, that did a lot.
Yeah.
And then he like just like Cloud's auto attack did a ton of damage. And I forget what just a couple attacks and it was dead right away before he could even like needed to heal. I was like, dang, okay. I thought I remember that like
awesome,
could be tricky.
I thought I remember, like he hits you hard and you have to heal.
Yeah.
And that's like you get your limit break, but it's like you might die, so you got to heal first.
But anyway, so I guess in that sense, having the story mode might be a little fun for people who,
So still, I feel like normal mode, like, because that's probably just what I'm going to play as normal, regular. Whether you have to beat it first to get the hard mode, still make that a little difficult, right? Because there is an easy option.
Yes.
So again, I do hope, like you're saying, at least at one point hit a tough boss and get a game over.
Yes.
But there is a fine line. I don't want it to be too hard to the point where I'm chucking a controller.
Yeah.
Elden Ring, where you have it is a trial and Dead Souls, where it's like it is you have to die 50 times.
Yes.
Like
no.
I don't got time for that.
one or two times possibly in a boss. I liked 13's difficulty level.
Yeah.
Where they kind of cap you at it.
Yes.
And like
that would.
There's
I do
some
kind of
boss
like
battles where it was like I remember Odin is always the one that gives me trouble.
The Eidolon battles were tough, even
was like
knowing what you're
to
doing.
do. Some of it ended up on luck and just
some
like
luck and like just marginal amount of error.
Where
like if you were too slow once or twice, it's like you're done.
You should be able to beat it 2 or 3 tries in. You should be able to beat it. So like I want something like that.
Agreed. Absolutely.
Maybe I lose in this fight because I missed an input or something, or you're supposed to use a certain ability somewhere that can be somewhat easily figured out after like playing through the boss and being like, oh, I just need to bring in this item with me, or I need to change. Right. Wind is obviously not good against him. I brought that all of my abilities.
That's all my
equipment. Maybe I just gotta switch.
I just gotta cut. Yeah. Or you're like, oh, you gotta like guard instead of dodge. This.
Like that kind of difficulty.
But yeah, again, so just going. Ooh, another big thing. Worried about in today's gaming. Downloadable content.
I saw that on your notes and was like, yes.
So I really don't want it to be like story kind of ends and then it's like chapter 2 coming next month. Download. I'm like, no.
Yeah, we gotta wait like 4 months because I'm gonna be like done with the game.
Yeah.
Like that's part of 15's problem was it was like we came out with all these things. I'm like, but I'm done with the game.
If you want to spend $5 and get another outfit, fine. Like if it's like. Eventually, there maybe is a harder super boss.
Yeah,
like that's fine.
And an extra dungeon at the end, but something
that would be cool. Like a whole other map you get to go play. Like that would be okay.
I guess I'd be okay with something that came along the lines of not necessarily main important storylines, but something of tying up a loose end here or there.
Yeah,
you know how we get Crisis Core later, so then it ties up some of the loose ends of how everything happened in that. Maybe I'd be okay with some of that After Effect, but not something where like I don't know how it ends. The game actually didn't end, and in 3-4 months down the road for another $15, here's episode 2.
Yes, like, really,
that would suck.
Yep, like don't.
I can see it happening because of 14.
So that's because now we talking about 14, how it's an MMO and expansions work. That's just kind of the way it goes. But it's like in that like. 14 has, let's say this is the overall story. Each little expansion's giving you a little bit. Yeah. It does feel like a story has wrapped up, but you're like, well, the big bad guy's still out there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, we beat the general, but like the Empire.
Oh, you're saying like in each expansion of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the expansion.
At the end of the expansion, you're like, okay, we
stopped
won,
something.
We won the battle. But there's still a war.
Yeah, it's like, but Garlemald is still going.
So I don't want that where it's like, hey, we got all, like in 16, hey, we got all the dominance and we're going to go fight the bad guy. And we did, and we won. But, there's the whole big bad guy. Yeah. Chapter 2,
all this that still didn't get tied up. I have no idea.
Like, hey, there's the mother crystals. Well, guess what? There's dark crystals. There's the classic
again, bringing
underworld. It's like that's chapter 2.
Yeah,
like no.
Again, bringing back to Tales of Arise, loved how that one was. There was some DLC, and I think in the same sense, it's like, oh, here's some more outfits. Here was like I think an extra dungeon after the game. Mm-hmm. It still felt like the game wrapped up.
Some kind of like Coliseum, like gauntlet kind of things where you do like multiple fights and
but it was like back. I still felt like I played through the game, and I felt like I got. I didn't miss anything because I didn't buy the DLC.
Yes, yep.
Unless I haven't. Now that was a year ago, so I don't know if they've added anything new that would be like that. But yeah, that's. I'm hopeful that it's going to follow along those same lines too, where it's like it still feels complete. Because I miss the old days where you have the game, you buy the game, and that's it. Yeah. You get everything for that. We're spending $70 on this game.
Yes,
I want everything in it.
Yeah.
For $70, man. And that's just how games are nowadays, though. I understand that, but I get your point.
Yeah, so I think pretty much the last thing on a possible negative note, one thing could maybe sour us on the game. The incoherent story. Like, if it's too hard to follow, end of the day, we're like more questions than answers. I'm a person, I love everything getting explained.
Yes.
If this happens, you gotta explain why. And if like you get to the end and you're like, yeah, why was like they're a dark Ifrit? Why was there a second fire icon, but that never got it, like, explained? Like,
so to interject, to explain then to that, they did announce that there is, oh shoot, what's it called? There's something they added in there, because they were actually saying that even they did at one point, they brought in a meeting and had all of like the storyboard developers go through, did a read through of the complete read through of the story.
Really?
And half of them were still confused and didn't know what was going on.
Even the creators.
So even the creators were like, I don't know what's happening.
Really?
So then they added an entire new feature in there that even it sounded like at any point during any scene or any point in the game, you can pause and then you can read like a lore, quote unquote, of
backstory
of what is happening, what has currently happened in this like scene that you're watching, or what has been happening, like a synopsis of at any point in the story. So that, to your point, it may be really confusing, but it sounds like they put in some things that if you care, you can read up and catch up and understand some of those loose ends that might be, because I have a feeling there's so many of these nations and they're so different, it's going to be like confusing, like, wait, who was from where and what was was that one again? I can't remember what that was from, and they're going to spew off like 10 different places all at once and names, and you're like,
Game of Thrones and Tactics both have it where you get, there's so many different cities, places, like, countries, nations, and people, like, you just don't know the name. They throw a name at you and you're like, am I supposed to know?
And to watch Game of Thrones twice to like even actually understand.
We've had to play Tactics 10 times to actually be able to be like, wait, so there was a king and and then the baby, and then he like basically dies off a screen. You know what I mean? Like, you don't ever like meet the king, and
you wouldn't even know if you don't read the rumors, but it doesn't ever tell you to read these rumors.
Yes.
So I think in this, though, they will prompt you. They'll bring it in, they'll prompt you like, hey, if you don't know what's going on in the story, hit pause, go to this, read the synopsis.
Very cool. I'm a fan of having like a journal thing, like you're kind of explaining.
I think that's basically what it's going to be.
Because sometimes you don't play for a couple of days, a couple of weeks, and you're like, what the heck? What did I just do? Why am I here? And I like to be able to then go and just read a little synopsis of like, you are going here because you talked to this person, you told, and you're like, that's right. I'm starting to remember this now.
Yep.
I know a lot of people complain about 13. I've read this online. Again, like a confusing story, or just like didn't make sense, and they almost complained about that you had to fill in the gaps with the journal, the data entries.
Yeah, but
I liked it. I played it the first time through and didn't even need it. And then played it through again and was like, oh, there's even more information. They do explain some things more. So I don't know. I think
I'm fine with that too, because there's people like
if you want to play through it a little bit quicker.
My brother-in-law, Angelo, shout out Angelo, usually doesn't care too much for those things.
Maybe Tony.
Yeah, and Tony,
shout out
again to
Coaster
Tony.
Spaz.
Who didn't care about the first 3 expansions of... Actually, no, Stormblood, he started. We finally
2.5 of Final Fantasy 14.
14 just skipped every scene, doesn't care about story. So for people like that, then it's like... he didn't care to watch 20-minute scenes to really explain everything. But then...
shorten it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But then have the information somewhere still.
Yes. So
I like that,
I think they're going to be like that. So they didn't answer that question, so... You should be. It'll probably be confusing.
Yeah, because again, if you're
there
going
should
off
be a way to explain it. If
you're
put
going
the time
off of Game of Thrones and Tactics, it's again a lot of people, a lot of moving parts, very confusing.
Hard to remember all the names.
Hard to remember. You're
places,
probably going to have to watch it and play it again.
Yes,
so,
which is awesome. That is one thing I really hope for. Is that
value.
I'm going to want to replay this game.
Right, the second I'm done, I'm going to want to be like, ooh, hard mode?
Yeah. Please make it so that I'm going to immediately want to replay this game.
Yeah.
Because that is one thing, or even not necessarily immediately, but a few years down the road even, I'm going to be like, all right, I want to replay that.
Right.
I got to play through it.
I
got to try it a different, I got to try it a different way. I can play actually differently. I can level abilities differently, or do maybe some parts of the story in a different order, something like that. Because that's what Final Fantasy has been. I can't go a year without playing at least one of them, replaying it at some point.
Yep.
like I pretty much spend my life debating like when the next one I'm going to replay is.
Yeah.
So like I really hope that that's part of that, because 15 took 7 years for me to try to replay, and I only got like 15 hours in, and I was like, oh my god,
I just couldn't do it.
there's too many other things I'd rather be doing. I've jumped to 14 instead. Anyhow, you got
I have
some
one
more
last
things?
one last interesting thing about 16 was I read something that apparently this is the first Final Fantasy, maybe at least just main title, that is how are they doing? They're doing the animation to the English voice actors first. So normally they animate it. They have the Japanese voice actors, and then they animate to how their speech is.
Yeah.
They are actually apparently doing the English voice acting and then animating it to that, and then doing it and then like translating it to Japanese and then like reanimating it.
So it's gonna look real good, hopefully.
I think it's gonna look really good, and I think the voice acting is going to be really good.
Yes.
Once you get through A Realm Reborn in Final Fantasy XIV, the voice acting is very good. That kind of Shakespearean vibe.
They do.
So I think it's going to be. I think we're gonna have some. And again, if it's like Final Fantasy VII remake, voice acting just like
awesome.
Like
yeah. And
I cannot
we've seen
think
in
of
trailers. It seems awesome so far.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we say the good has to outweigh the bad, and I mean, we're gonna have Final Fantasy has always got top-notch graphics.
Yes.
So with this thing, I've read, it's going to push the PS5 like to its limits.
Yeah.
Already, this PS5 isn't even that old, but it's going to like push it. Voice acting. So we got graphics. Voice acting is going to be like great.
So
a little curious too if maybe some things won't get like lost in translation because it's almost sounding like it's like written almost like in English first. I might be like a little wrong on that, but good graphics, good voice acting.
Yeah.
We may not be 100% agreed with like the battle style system and vibe. It's gonna be fun.
I think
it's gonna be great regardless. At least enjoyable.
Just get over the fact that it's not
story is gonna be great. Gonna be more mature. If it's harder to follow, maybe you just have to play it again.
Yeah.
Read some things.
Which hopefully too, like that. Even going back to like Final Fantasy VII, and then again another shout out to every F and FF podcast. I've played through some of these Final Fantasies multitude of times, like probably 10 times I've played through 7, and every time there's some little tidbit of information that I either forgot about or missed or didn't know or understand now. Like every time you play through them, there's more info that you can get.
So it's something you got to keep that in the back of your mind of like, oh, I didn't understand the story.
Yeah.
Well, we understand 7, 8, 9, 10 story because we have played it 100
so
times.
many times, yeah.
Like,
that I hope that this does that. That like every time I play through, then I'll get more of the little minute details or something, or understand it more. But it also the story makes me want to play it more.
Yeah.
So, I guess I'm gonna jump in here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm pretty much I
have one kind of more thing that I want to go through. Going to our rankings and following that from our last episode. For those of you who haven't watched it, go watch it. It's great. We ranked all of the Final Fantasy main titles.
Send your ranking in.
Yeah.
Let us know how you ranked the Final Fantasies.
So, on that, we have a new Final Fantasy main title to add to that.
To add to our ranking,
So, I went ahead and gave it a ranking.
Okay.
Based on everything I've seen so far,
check my...
Just basically everything I've seen so far, I put it where I think it will be. However, I also then said where I am hopeful that it might end up.
Right.
So for me, I say as of now, how I think it's going to line up, I put it at 8th. I think it's above 14 for me, but it still might be below 12. I have a feeling I'm going to be so hung up on the like battle style not giving me a feel of Final Fantasy.
And the party members. Yes.
But
might be a
I am still very hopeful that it might actually break my top 5. Depending on how good this story is and the development on all these characters, and if I do feel like I have some sort of party and then the battle style is so much fun that I don't care, like 7 Remake, it wasn't turn-based, but it still was like, this is still fun. This is a lot of fun. Still have a Final Fantasy feel to it. If it still has all those things and all these things we're worried about actually come true, like this might break my top 5.
I agree.
Could see it.
Yeah. I'm
gonna try and keep my expectations a little low and put it at
talking about it earlier.
That 8th spot there, right smack in the middle. I don't expect it to be a 15. I really don't think it's gonna be. I'm really hopeful it's not. But I'm curious. I'm putting you on the spot. Where do you think it's gonna land for you?
I was just checking my list from our last episode, and
did you do the same thing?
You said 8th, right?
Yeah. That's where. So without playing anything so far, just looking,
playing
just
anything,
discussing.
I could maybe bump it up a spot or two. I could maybe put it at like 7 or 6. Just going off of, not even playing it yet, but I have.
I mean, Clive is awesome.
Yeah. So right now,
that category right there is gonna put it up.
Right now, it's
unless he turns out to be a little bitch. But
yeah. Turns out he's just
annoying you the whole time or
I just
something.
hate him. No.
Maybe he's just a whiny little brat the whole time.
I remember
Yeah. Maybe it's her. No, so far he's.
But I can
badass.
definitely see if it turns out really good, like we're saying, anything we're worried about, I can definitely see it. Maybe even beating where I have 13, like being
right
top like 3 or 4. Yeah. Like a big thing too is just I know we talked I think last episode about how our release date for 13 was so like hyped. We were waiting for so long for it. We went to a midnight release. We drank Mountain Dew, stayed up all night, and gamed. That like goes into a little bit of like us liking, like at least for me personally, 13 a bit more.
So hopefully this helps it. We're getting ourselves like warmed and like, all right, so this helps.
I'm kind of like,
I just feel really
how much, I don't know, good and bad. Like if we like did that again, and it was like, now we're gonna be like, oh man, it's gonna be. So if we're kind of like, it should be good, and the game is just like, I cannot put this down.
Yeah,
I'm hoping so. This story.
I hope that the next day of work sucks horribly because I never stopped playing.
When we played 13, I did not want to set it down because the story was so like, you're on a time crunch.
I mean, like you said, we played like 30 hours straight. We didn't stop.
Yeah.
We
should have streamed it. That was before streaming, really.
Yeah, we would have. It would have been a 48-hour stream.
It would have been hilarious. Yeah. So I'm hoping like the story is like just it makes you just want to like go keep playing, right?
Yeah.
And man, because if so, I can, my top 5 I got, then top down 10, 7, 9, 13, 8. So I could see it jumping up above 13.
Right. Like we've been talking about the story and all these twists and turns and how beautiful it looks and all this. The cast seems really cool.
Oh man,
I just hope that they're involved in it and not like 15 where you're like Luna Freya's never in the game.
You don't
Your
get to use Aranea.
Isn't in the game. I hope that this one has the love interest seems a little different. It seems like you're more like brother sister love.
I don't think I've actually heard anything about a love interest.
I think the love. I don't think it's necessarily like a love interest of like Cloud and Tifa and Cloud and Aerith type thing,
or Tidus and Yuna.
I don't think it's gonna be quite like that because it's like
a bit more like
Jill
6
is
like
childhood
Terra
friends.
and Locke. I don't even know if there is like romantic in that one either.
No, I think it's just
6.
It seems like it might end up being more of a like family brotherly love interest with Jill.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to turn into like a romantic type love interest, but I hope that the development there is kind of there.
Right.
I guess that's kind of Cloud and Tifa to like the very, very end.
Yeah.
Tifa's just kind of always chasing after him. Cloud doesn't really seem to pay attention.
Which is funny.
All he thinks about is Sephiroth.
Yeah, which is funny because then you learn their like back history, and Cloud was the wimpy kid that was like chasing after Tifa, and then it like switches.
Yeah.
And Tifa's kind of like...
He leaves, and disappears, and then she comes back. She's like,
comes back all badass, hot. And he's like, shut. Yeah.
Look at the size of that sword.
And
oh my God.
And he's just like, doesn't care, right? Yeah, but then it's like...
So
we were talking about this earlier with our cousins. With a rated M...
Oh, yeah.
With an M rating, and a clear inspiration of Game of Thrones, what level of nudity... is there going to be in the game?
Are we getting Garuda boobies? Or are we getting Clive floppy wieners?
Yeah, are we going full Game of Thrones, like male nudity? Like that would have... It'd be crazy to see in a Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Or like we were talking about, is like, is there gonna be like a sex scene?
Yeah.
That would be weird in Final Fantasy.
A little weird.
And it had me thinking, like,
I don't know if I'd be mad.
it's not really talked about, or like even like
It's implied in a lot of points. I mean,
is it? Okay, I was gonna say, I almost feel like it's.
I mean, you know what
that's where I was gonna say. There's a couple.
Tidus and Yuna were doing in
one
that
or two
water.
I can think of where it's pretty heavily implied, but otherwise, I'm not really sure.
And I was actually, again, bringing them up again every FNFF, because I was just listening to them a ton today, too. When you get to the ending, right before you go to North Crater.
That was what I was going to bring
up. There's a whole scene where they're together.
Tifa and Cloud are, like, cuddling up, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And she says...
There's a moment, too, where, like,
something.
Sid, I think it was Sid, was, like catches him, and she's like, were you watching us? And he's like, and then she gets, like, all embarrassed and stuff, and they're like...
Yeah.
It's one of those you were doing the hippity-dippity.
Being younger over your head,
Right,
you're like,
over
yeah,
your
they're
head.
just like sitting, holding hands.
Implied, but yeah, now
But it was
that it's
clear.
rated
She's
M,
like,
are
I
we
don't
gonna
want
see
to
this?
move. Like, I want to just stay here. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay.
Now as you're an adult, you're like, we know what's going on.
We know,
here.
yeah. And again, 10, they have the Tidus and Yuna share the kiss underwater.
Yeah.
When you get a little bit
Yeah.
older, you're also like, oh, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those two are pretty much
Because
the main
I would
ones
almost
that
think
are really
in
implied.
that scene, they do a good job of like that. They like show you and you leave, so it's like nothing else really happens. But then it's kind of like the next day you go to the Calmlands and there's how Yuna and Tidus are like interacting. You're like,
yeah,
that's just it seems like yeah.
We've all been in that
They
situation.
cross.
Yeah.
He got out the friend zone. Like
Something happened in that
but
water.
so is it going to be in 16? Are we gonna get a little implication implied where it's kind of like sleeping in the same bed, camera just goes up, or is it going to be like,
are we gonna get Grand Theft Auto scenes?
Yeah,
like,
Grand Theft Auto, Game of Thrones, just why am I watching this for 5 minutes? No.
I think the rated M though is mostly going to be the blood and violence in it.
Yes.
Probably. I'm betting there's like alcohol and probably drug
the
use
typical
at some point where they like make that maybe a few more F-bombs and maybe there's not the...
Oh, I'm hoping for that.
Oh my god, I keep bringing up every FNFF.
Yeah.
But those guys, whenever in 7 they have the like different texts or whatever, which is implied that they're swearing.
Yeah.
They kept saying zoinks. Where...
Great,
I love it. I love it. It's great. But, like, maybe we won't hear zoinks this time. Maybe it will be a F-U. And
and that's
I'm going to F and murder you. Like, I could see that happening.
Another shout out to Tales of Arise that just made me think of having so big an M rating and more cursing, if you will. I'm hoping to have these in a more mature story. I'm hoping to have these really just powerful scenes.
Yes.
The good voice acting where this character is like, I'm gonna murder you. There was multiple in Tales of Arise. Almost like each character had a moment where they like almost lost it, if you will. And it was like, hold them back. And I was like,
so good.
Literally like your jaw's open or you're getting like a little teary-eyed, you know, because it's just it was really good. I'm hoping for like that moment.
Make me cry.
Yeah, make me cry. Yes, 16. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I mean, I think it looks like there is a lot more to be excited and leaning more towards the good column.
Yes, I'm very hopeful.
Then bad and negative and
Final
being a little disappointed.
Final Fantasy 16. It comes out June 22nd, and if this is way later, it was in 2023. It was out right before my birthday. I'm super excited.
Oh,
already
yes.
got it. Already got it pre-ordered. Can't wait for that thing to start downloading.
My next paycheck, I was going to pre-order it.
Get it ready.
Do my due diligence of buying this game.
Technically, I was gonna say technically you can just get it from me with our PlayStation share, but
every now and again, you gotta support
it.
The game.
Yeah.
I've had a couple moments. Yeah, you can download some free games, but it's like, what if Square Enix just said like, we cannot make Final Fantasy 17 because just nobody bought it.
Yeah.
And I was part of that problem. Like, no, so I'm like, I will give you money so that you can keep making Final Fantasies.
Go get yours. Go
mark your calendar.
It for June 27th.
Take off of work.
Yeah.
Pre-order it. Go play Final Fantasy 16 after you watch our first episode.
Yes.
And rank the Final Fantasies.
Leads me right into the next part of this, that you can find us on YouTube at a Super Frank podcast. If you type that into Google, all one word, you will be able to find the first episode. It was very hard for me to find. I don't know why they had to make it so tricky. You can't just type in Super Frank or Super Frank podcast separately.
They're trying to hold us back.
But a Super Frank podcast, one word, in Google, you will be able to find the very first episode. Hopefully that will be also, if you wanted to find this or show somebody else, one way to find it. We're also on Spotify. But on that one, if you type in a Super Frank podcast with spaces, then you'll find us on Spotify.
All right, yeah.
I don't know why they're so difficult. Probably just because we're so new. Not enough views and likes, so please help us out on that one. More likes, subscribe.
Go tell your friends. Go like, subscribe.
Also, I didn't say this the last time because I hadn't made the email yet, but now we have an email. A superfrankpodcast@gmail.com. Please email us also your thoughts, your list.
Yes, a little better way for you to contact us. So send in your ranking, your list.
Please comment, but also send in emails.
Comments.
Also, any ideas of what you would like us to do next?
Yeah, episode ideas, absolutely.
We have like a million ideas of what we would like to talk about always, but it would be really nice if we had somebody who also really recommended something, so that would push us to.
We want to know
what next.
What you guys want to. Yeah,
Should
we would
do
love
a
to talk
list
about.
Next, or I don't know. We really only are able to do probably about one a month or so, one every other month, and
maybe
time wise it's difficult for us to get together, but. So I don't know, maybe the next one might just be a review. We might have beaten 16 by that point, and then go over all of our things. We'll see. Maybe we'll do another ranking in between or something. I'm liking the idea of all those ranking musics or something like that.
Yes, couple ideas.
Going to the main characters because I've already kind of had one, but So that's. I believe that's it for this episode.
Yeah, so
I think we went on
our Super Frank take of 16 should be good.
Yeah, be Super Frank. I'm excited for it.
Looking forward to it.
Hopefully everyone else is as excited as we are. To be Super Frank, Joshua is going to be the villain. Best character.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the name.
Nothing to do with the shared name. But
I can't believe I'm in a Final Fantasy. This is fantastic.
Yeah, a little jealous, but... Then he just...
All right. Well, this is... thanks for listening, everybody. If you're still listening and sticking around for this whole thing, this is a Super Frank podcast. I'm SuperSanctus.
This is Frankie. Yeah, I want to say thank you again for sticking around and listening to our podcast. Please feel free to come by again and listen to our next episodes. Yeah. We will do our best to give you guys more.
Yeah. Like, subscribe, share with everybody.
And go play Final Fantasy and talk about it.
Yeah. We will see you on the other end of Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah.
We don't need your salvation. We'll save ourselves, and we'll do it on our own terms. Come to me, Ifrit!
Who are we? What are the dominants? We are but mighty acts of God.
Enough of this! I use my talents to my advantage, and you would tell me there is shame in that?
We shared a dream! I would be the king of the world!
The darkness has taken hold of you. It has made you forget yourself.
I don't want to be a monster, Clive. I have to stop him! I have to save them!
I made a promise to my friends, and it is they who will give me the strength to end your reign. Your efforts will avail us naught.
We fight. We survive. We endure. We don't need a reason. Five!
Five!